businesses, corporations are applying human capital to some of the most serious social problems and critical issues of our time. And I think we have a really rich a portfolio of experts and peers, colleagues, and best practices that you all will be learning from throughout the track and throughout the next 2 days. So, and we think it's terrific to have these wonderful companies that are represented here, the CEOs and the leadership of these companies, to really talk about how civic engagement, employee activation is a vital part of their own business strategy and their commitment back to communities. So, we live in such a time of opportunity and challenge and ferment, and we are, I think, increasingly in need of the private sector leadership that businesses provide. We have constrained federal resources. We all know that we are facing the limitations of what our federal investments can do, and serious debate and deliberation around that, important conversation. And so I think that the partnerships between business, government, and nonprofit are more important now than they ever have been. And the good news is that I think corporations really have embraced corporate social responsibility as a vital part of their work. I am very proud to present Deborah Roberts, a hometown girl, Perry, Georgia.
Well, I am thrilled to be here and to join you all in this discussion. We've been having a great time also getting to know each other this morning. So I'll introduce the panel, which you've met some of them, or at least heard about some of them just now in the video, but I'll introduce and they can come on up, please. You've been drinking some of the coffee, probably the last day or so, from Starbucks. So why don't you please first welcome Cliff Burrows, President of Starbucks US. Please join us here. Charles, but he says we can call him Chaz Edelstein. He is with the Apollo Group, the co-chief executive officer and director, which is owner of the University of Phoenix. Would you please join us, Chaz? Bob Pease with Motiva Enterprises. Would you please join us? President and CEO of Motiva. And finally, Rod West, Executive VP of, I feel like I'm mispronouncing it, Intergy Corporation, and he's the CAO of that group, and New Orleanian. Come on up, please.
Oh.
There's so much to get to, but I think maybe what might be useful is to hear all of you talk about it. And we all had an opportunity to talk a little bit during breakfast this morning about your corporate commitment to community building. And maybe if we could start with you on this end, on Rob, talking about your company. And I mean, obviously, you're here in the heart of a zone that really needed a lot of attention a few years ago with Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. My question is how, as a company, because your big job is to earn money and to bring in that bottom line, but at the same time to also care about the areas that your companies are based in. How is it, and I'd like to start with you, and then maybe we can all sort of go around and talk about this, how is it that you can sort of balance those two goals of keeping the company on track, and especially in this case, after such a disaster here, trying to keep the company on track, but also trying to worry about the community as well?
Well, when you think about why we exist, certainly we could take the academic approach and say that businesses exist to make money. But in our business, bucket trucks they don't keep the lights on for our customers. The transformers don't keep the lights on for our customers. It's our employees. We live here. This is our community. And when we think about Katrina, and we like to think less and less about Katrina now, 6 years later, these are the communities that sustain our business model. It's the right thing to do. We start from the moral imperative that we have a responsibility as a business to be an active participant in the success of our communities, whether that's in economic development, whether it's in housing, whether it's in education. After the storm, all the things that we take for granted today that sustain our communities, from housing, from jobs, from educating our children, those things were taken away from us. And but for the collaboration that was mentioned earlier of government, of the private sector, and the nonprofit community, who quite honestly fill the gap where government could not and corporations would not, because they were on their backs as well. New Orleans wouldn't be where it is today. Certainly Entergy Corporation would not be located in a city that was not sustainable. And so without that collaborative effort, we wouldn't be able to be here and take for granted the very lights that came on when we flipped the switch. Electricity is still the closest thing to magic that there is.
Got to get that little plug in there, right? Bob, what about you? How does your company justify community involvement? I mean, it's good for the community, but what does it do for the company?
Yeah, so I think the point that Rod made about collaboration is so important. In fact, when we were sitting over there, I said, please keep doing the great job you're doing, because Motiva is a joint venture between Shell and Aramco. It operates 3 large refineries, a distribution network, and supplies the fuel to 8,300 Shell stations throughout the Gulf Coast, East Coast. And his job of keeping us in power so that we can keep the nation moving and respond is critical. When Katrina hit a few years ago, between Shell and Motiva, we have over 4,000 employees here in the New Orleans vicinity. And our first job was ensuring and securing their safety and starting the rebuilding process. Literally moving 4,000 employees and their families over to other locations to continue work. But being part of this community is absolutely vital. And it's why we focus most of our efforts around community building, education, and environment. And we have a number of wetland projects. But the way we justify, quite frankly, is we're a company of employees. So this is where we live. This is where we work. This is vital to who we are. And our employees expect it. They expect us to be very actively involved. So it's good for our business, but it's also just very important to all the people of the company.
Because you're a company of people. Chaz, let me ask you, and by the way, in case you think this is just a bunch of dull CEOs, I got to let you know Chaz's phone went off just now and it was bad to the bone. It was his ringtone.
And the call was bad.
I'm sure it was, Chaz. How do you motivate, though? How do you get the employees to feel that this is something that is important, not only just as a company to keep your reputation intact, but also something good for the community?
Well, it's I don't know if it's easier by the nature of the business that we're in or not, but this is a question I get asked a lot because we're in the business of education. Mm-hmm. And so, Apollo Group, which is the owner of the University of Phoenix, is a Fortune 500 company, yet it's an educational institution. How do we reconcile that? And what I explain to shareholders is that our mission enables us to punch above our weight. I recently had a person interview for a job, a direct report to the CEO from a Fortune 50 company, a very large company. And I won't talk about the company specifically, but I said, what is it that makes you come to us? We're a pretty good sized company, but not the size what you were at before. And he says, I've been making widgets for a long time, and I'd like to earn a living and get into heaven at the same time. Mm. And that is a very powerful thing. If you have a mission-oriented culture, and that is in people's DNA, and that's what we see with our people. We just provide an outlet for it by encouraging involvement in our communities, and you can see that allows us to attract people that have a mission orientation. They want to be at the company to do more than just earn a living and make the money we need to make to sustain our company too. But that mission orientation allows us to attract people, to retain people in that mission, and I think it's very powerful. It's powerful for the communities, but it's powerful for us as mission-oriented human beings.
That's interesting to think about it as mission. Cliff, so many of us associate Starbucks, of course, being a fairly younger company, I guess, and with younger employees, as a company that sees this as a mission. Is that the way you view it too?
Yeah, I think that the mission is so important for us. And a long time ago, we realized and designed a company around a profitable company with a social conscience, because for us, vibrant community is critical to the success of our business and growing it. And we really did start with our mission, which was to inspire and nurture the human spirit and bring it really down to the granular level. It's one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time, which sort of for us marries those two together. And we now have 200,000 people putting on a green apron every day somewhere in the world, in 50 countries. Many of them you would never imagined an American coffee brand showing up. And that community involvement is as relevant in markets such as China, where we celebrated recently. And as part of our 40th anniversary, we reconfirmed to the mission, and we celebrated by having community events, about 1,400 community events in 27 countries in that global month of service you saw there. And it's not only good business, the right thing to do for community, but we're finding our employees, that our partners in the business are challenging us and saying they don't just want a job to earn money. They want to work for a good company and one that allows them to give back. So it's been critical throughout.
Now, I saw you in that video in the green digging there. What about the rest of you all? Do you walk the walk along with your companies? I mean, it's one thing to have this as an imperative for your company. Do the rest of you get involved? I see you over there laughing.
I laugh recently in conjunction with the Super Bowl and the $1 million commitment we made for playgrounds. I remember how I felt with the jackhammer in my hand and how the employees took great joy in laughing at me while doing that. But you can't be authentic as a leader, and we don't have to wax philosophical about it, but you can't be authentic as a leader of an organization, whether it's nonprofit, governmental, or private sector, if you're not willing to lead by example. Because the sustainability of the effort from the employees comes from their belief that the commitment to the effort starts from the top down.
So if they don't see you out there.
If they don't see me out there, it will become a perfunctory effort. And a perfunctory effort has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But if there's active engagement from the leadership, the employees sort of reaffirm that value proposition you were talking about, that there is a social conscience as part of the culture, as part of the DNA. Yeah. And that starts from the top.
Well, there's magic to all of this, and I hope you all got some ideas to work with. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we've got to move on in our program. But I just want to thank you all so much again. Cliff Burrows, Chaz Edelstein, Bob Peace, and Rod West, thank you so much for joining us with your ideas.
Thank you.